Season 38, War 11, 4 Loki is facing GGIR. At the time of recording, we're winning this war, but we will see what happens. You never know. You never know. All right, I'm going to start off on path 1A. I'm going to be running mostly Miguel fights this war. First up is Mordo. These two nodes here on 1A are the regeneration nodes. Miguel doesn't really care because he's a sick and tired attacker, so I'll be able to do all the heal blocks I want, plus the normal, Mordo nonsense with the power gains and everything. Miguel straight up handles all that with the Wither. The only annoying port is right there. He's resisting my heavy. God, I hate it when Mordo does that. It just drives me nuts. Costs me some unnecessary health. But, it's only potions. Otherwise, this is a pretty easy fight. So, yeah. Sped it up and we can move on. Speaking of more fights that I'm going to speed up, next up we've got a ManThing. ManThing here doesn't present much difficulties for Miguel. He'll never gain a buff, which means he can't be poisoned except on the special 3, so I'm not really worried about it. And of course, I find out shortly that this particular Jamoke here from GGIR placed with recoils on, so I'm going to get a little free recoil damage in. This node does have masochism, so it ate my initial Wither. That just means I need to build up to a special 2, trigger the masochism, and then throw the SP2 for the Wither, just like if I'm fighting a conflictor node, which, spoiler alert, I will be fighting later on this war, although I do a much better job of managing that effect here against ManThing than I do later against Doom. All right, next up, we're going to go to the shared mini. I originally thought I could do this with Miguel, but I had an open roster spot, so I figured, fuck it, let's do it with Gallon. I haven't used him in war, I think, ever. And he's pretty fun to use. He is kind of ridiculous, and this particular node combination is going to allow me to build my planetary mass very quickly. Guardian starts off this fight with some really sort of passive AI blocking. Doesn't really allow me to get my first combo in until like 15 seconds into the fight. But now I'm cooking with some gas, and the strategy that I'm going to employ here is that once I trigger the harvest with the heavy, I'm also triggering the conduit because Guardian is a conduit defender. I'll wait out the shock debuff, and then I'll throw my special, so that way I don't need to worry about him regenning any of the burst damage. Although, spoiler alert, it doesn't matter because that's a 200,000 plus special. Jeez, that's so stupid. All right, next up we have this Maul on 23. Last war I had a really clean fight against Maul on 43. And someone said, well, why don't you just show it at regular speed? And so here's my shitty fight against Maul at regular speed. It's shitty because I mess up the route here and take a couple hits to the face. What can you say? Not bad timing on my part, but it is what it is. It sounds like it looks like and feels like I've got the counter heavy spacing down on the SP1. And again, this particular is the same guy I fought before. You can see clearly he has the recoil masteries on, and so I get some free damage in, both from the heal block of the sick and tired as well as from the recoil from the specials. So I'll take any help that I can get. Next, we'll move on to this Peni. I did kind of consider using Gallon here. Gallon is great for Peni. Just hitting it a block, you're going to build a ton of planetary mass. But I got to keep my streak alive of Miguel fighting her. And plus, look, Gallon can do this fight, but nothing is safer than Miguel. And so, in a war that we desperately need to win, I got to pick the safest possible option. And so that's exactly what I did. And this Peni fight is going to go like all the other Peni fights, which is that she gets smoked. All right, next up we have this Rintrah. Rintrah can be a pain in the ass with Miguel just because of the neutralizes fucking with his ability to pause debuffs. And that's exactly what happens here. At the same time, I fought a ton of Rintrahs this season. I have no fear. I understand how to play him and defend his kit just by managing his charges so that way he doesn't get too crazy with his power gains and all that sort of good stuff. So whether I'm using Rolk Omega Red or Miguel. It's just, you know, remembering to knock this guy down as much as you possibly can. And, you know, taking off dexterity if you have a champion who does, in fact, gain buffs. Miguel doesn't. So this is just a pretty normal Miguel fight. Once I avoid the neutralizes, then I'll be able to pause my debuffs. So at this point now, I'm able to pause them, and I can really take control of the fight. Rintrah starts ticking down. Rupture burst, yeah. It's a slow fight, as you can see. It took me over 2 minutes to get him down, but pretty safe. And by the way, slow fights against Aspect of Evolution. Whew. Anyway, next up we got this Nimrod, who is absolutely nothing on this node. I mean, Miguel is going to just wipe the floor with him. The only thing I have to say here is that I miss a couple SP1 dexes just because my controls got a little sticky. You know, sometimes in these fights, you go to dex and you don't dex, you just sit there and block. Sometimes you go to dex and you just take it on the chin. It's really annoying. I generally will just, you know, if that happens in a fight before I do my next fight, I'll power down, not turn off my phone, but just sort of close it, clean the screen, get out of the app, go back out of the app and redo it. And I'm just, you know, psychologically that seems to solve the problem. Whether it actually does in terms of responsiveness, who knows. Anyway, moving on to node 48, we have a Hyperion. This fight always starts pretty slow, until you can get some ruptures on this guy, and then once you get the ruptures, the fight speeds up dramatically. So, you know, I of course mess up a few falters here. You know, sloppy play from Clown. What else do you expect? But once I get these ruptures on him, he's going to start melting. As you can see, that health bar is actually starting to go down quite a bit. And I get a few rupture bursts, another special 2, and Hyperion is pretty much dead. There's not really a whole lot of danger on this fight. I did pop an invul and a special 3 boost just in case, but ended up being a complete waste of resources. But better safe than sorry, right? I don't want to. I'd rather use them and not need them than need them and not have them. So next up, we're going to move on to the Doom that we see a lot on Conflictor. I'll get a pre-fight here from Yusafa. That guidance is important to make sure that I can get my parries off when I need to. And the strategy remains the same as in previous fights, which is just pop an advanced power boost. As you can see, there's my invul. I'm going to switch over, pop an advanced power boost, get to the special true, trigger Conflictor, and then throw the special 2 to get the Wither. Last time I did this fight, I played it really well. Doom never even got to a special 2. I was able to keep him under 2 bars of power the entire fight before I got the Wither up, and even when I put the Wither on him. And that, you know, was probably the cleanest I've ever done. And this is not going to be that fight. You know, he's being super stingy with his specials. He's backing me into a corner. Finally, he throws the SP1. I'm able to dex this SP1. Other SP1s I fail to dex. I think this one pops me. Yeah, it does. And that's always annoying because you lose a little bit of power with it. But I finally get to my 2 bars of power, and I throw it. I thought I had triggered Conflictor, and I had it. And so Conflictor instead eats the Wither. And I push Doom to 2 bars of power. This is not great, you know, and I have to basically reset. I have to build back up to 2 bars of power and try to get the Wither on again. I eat another special 1 because I'm good at this game, and this is not great play. But the key here is just that not to panic, right? Because I do know that no matter what, once I get the Wither on Doom, the fight is essentially over. I mean, there's really no more threats at that point other than just making a serious play mistake. And so now I've triggered the Conflictor, and I can hit him with the SB2, get the Wither, and now I can speed up the fight because it's essentially over. I'm not going to make any more play mistakes, and I'm just going to let the ruptures do all the work on Doom, and I'll get them down really quickly after this. So, another long fight. Not particularly happy with the way I played in this one, but the important thing is, again, when you make a mistake like I made in that initial SB2, it's just to not panic and just reset and just stick to the script, because I'd rather lose time than lose the attack bonus. All right, my final fight of this war is Mangog, my old friend. I'm going to start the fight the same way I did last time, with 3 parries into heavies for the 3 exhaustions. That'll just help manage Mangog's power gain. He'll throw a couple special ones in this fight, but that's really it. Other than that, I just let the ruptures do their work and get Mangog down. So yeah, this is a good 10-fight war, all solos, 9 Miguel fights, just because he's a workhorse. At the time that I'm recording this, 4 Loki is ahead. I don't know if we're going to win the war. We really do need to win this one in order to ensure masters, and so hopefully we're able to pull through. But other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next life chat.